Hey there, skeptics and Thanksgiving enthusiasts. Get ready for a parade of opinions as we dive into the controversy surrounding the Macy's Thanksgiving parade. Now, it seems like the turkeys aren't the only ones getting roasted this year. A conservative group, 1 Million Moms, has launched a petition declaring this year's parade a non binary and transgender extravaganza. Apparently, they're concerned about exposing the masses to what they call the liberal LGBTQ agenda. Well, brace yourself, folks, because it's about to rain glitter and tolerance on your Thanksgiving feast. The petition specifically targets performers like Justin David Sullivan, a non binary singer with a Broadway breakout role, and Alex Newell, who identifies as non binary and plays the female role of Lulu in the musical Shook. I mean, who knew Thanksgiving could be so avant garde? So grab your cranberry sauce and join us as we dissect the drama behind the floats, the feathers, and the fabulousness in this year's Macy's Thanksgiving parade. And remember, folks, if the turkey isn't the only one causing a stir this year, at least we'll have a front row seat to the spectacle. This article is from the New York Post, published November 12th, 2023. So, peeps, what you think? I'm coming to you, Jonathan, first.
Well, this is another nothing burger by the extreme right religious bigots who really just want to basically do what they hate when we cancel them. They want to cancel and continuously attack any public expression of queerness. It's a never ending attempt to push us back in the closet, but the genie's already out of the bottle. So the big lie is the million moms. It's not a million moms. It's like even their Facebook and other social media sites. The total that I've been given on the when I looked for it was approximately 46,000, 47,000, something like that. So it's 0.046 million, not a million. I guess they're working on it, but it seems every time they come up with another outrage thing to push, they get less and less followers. So that's a good thing, but I'm sure it's really trying for them to try and get, you know, all this momentum behind their hatred and their bigotry, and it just kind of falls flat. So even their own people are starting to say, and walk away. So again, it's not outrageous enough. They keep doing it and saying you need a new outrageous thing so that you can keep them coming and keep your movement going. But hopefully it's dying out now. So anyway, Phil, what do you think?
I do think you may be wrong on the million number. I think that between all of them, there may be close to a million brain cells between them collectively. But beyond that, I have to say that when I first read the title, this extravaganza, I was excited. I never really pay attention to the Macy's parade. It's not really my kind of idea of a parade. In New Orleans, we know how to do both parades and extravaganzas. And if these people really want to lose their shit, I'd be happy to bring them to some really fun parades back home. But, they're not ready for that. So when I looked at them and tried to take them serious, and I agree that they are hurting right now. There's definitely a group of people that are growing tired of their rhetoric. But I do believe they really think their society is falling apart. And in some ways, they are absolutely correct. I don't agree. But what's going on is the illusion that they're cocooned within, that society that they exist within, that is being dismantled. And it needs to be. Those values and priorities that they hold in such esteem are being challenged. And that's what they're reacting like children about. They get offended. They're talking about, as Cynthia mentioned, the liberal LGBT agenda. They're talking about my family. They're talking about my children, and they're treating them as if there's something to be reviled, objects of disgust. It's important for children and people to see people represented who are like them, who are proud to be who they are. That's really all it boils down to. Now, what really made it turn for me, though, is when I sat and got a little serious about this and thought about these are 20,000 people who sign this, and they all represent households that they're going home and they're bringing this rhetoric home. They're not just signing a petition, they're talking about these types of things. And I couldn't think about how many children are sitting silently in those homes with a secret. Children who are being raised unknowingly by their parents to think that they're broken, that something's wrong with them. Now, they can continue to try to shelter their kids from the real world if they want to. It doesn't really work out. In my opinion, real life does have a tendency of making its way into reality. They should worry about their own, and that's their right. But, it's important for them to be supportive of their kids. I know it's important for all parents. So it disturbs me to see them get on this binge of hate and demonstrate that to their children. But it's important to be supportive when kids are doing the things that you don't want, you don't expect, or even hope or desire. Those aren't your choices. They're their own people. And they need to let their own children and other children experience life as it is. Let people be them. The celebration is no different. It should be the same. Let the people there be themselves. Quit trying to put people in a box. And I'm glad to see groups like the Million Moms starting to weaken and lose a little bit of their grasp. And I hope it only gets more. Now, Phoebe, what are you thinking about these awesome people?
It's bigotry with a website. It's, not much. I mean, 1 million mums. I don't actually think the number of petition signatures is genuine. I mean, how many of these are actually, like bots or people that have signed up multiple times that have done all these things just to inflate the numbers slightly? Because, you've got, lovely Elon out there and his, 500,000 users every month. Sorry, 500,000 users every month. Yeah, 500,000. And he refused to say how many of those were bots. They won't tell you how many of these signatories are bots because, that some of these aren't going to be real signatories. So that 20,000 number, it's inflated as far as I'm concerned. It's never as high as the number actually says. But what can I say? I read the article from the New York Post. And the New York Post, you read it, and you could tell that the person writing it is pissed off actually covering this shit. You can just tell. They put in quotation marks and all of their nonsense, and you can just tell that the person who is writing it has clearly had enough. A similar fit of outrage, blah, 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 was one of the lines that was actually used in the article by the person who wrote it. Because this person has clearly been told, write this about this. And they go, yeah, fine. Wonderful. But as far as they're concerned, they'd rather be covering anything but this because they don't really give a monkeys about, bigotry versus the glitter ball. They don't really give a toss about all of that. And it's just like, oh, well, total bollocks and complete idiocy from a bunch of bigots. What were we expecting in this day and age from the dying vestiges and convulsions of, the Million Mums campaign of, Christo-fascist lunacy that, part of the stop the world is spinning too fast and want to get up home feeling sick idiots. I mean, what kind of people were we expecting here? I mean, I don't hold much out about this. I don't even know what a Thanksgiving Day parade is, for goodness sakes. But, these people, they're the, what we have in the UK. We call these people the renter goon, the renter loon, or the renter mob. You have your cause. You want a few more people to turn up to it. So you go, yeah, hello, can you turn up here? There's some free wine here if you turn up. Oh, okay, so 10 mothers and 1 dog turns up. And, some of them's got bad bleached hair and, all this other rubbish. But it doesn't mean anything. Pay these idiots the attention they deserve, which is about as much attention as I pay the poo that is being flushed away into the sewage system. Absolutely no attention whatsoever should be paid to these kinds of people. And the less attention that is paid to these people, the less their rhetoric will be heard, and the more they will just die out, and the faster the world can move on from these kinds of million brain cells of lunacy.
Hurry up!
Well, Phoebe, I'm going to have to disagree with something that you said. you need to pay attention to the boo that goes down your toilet, because if it gets stopped up, that's a big bill that I'm going to tell you that you're going to be paying to your plumber. Just saying.
All I will say is the local sewerage company, they have a very good on-call insurance service around these parts, and we're covered.
Very good. Very good. I'm always about that home warranty life.
There you go. Home insurance, it's a good thing, you see.
It is. It's a great. That's the first thing I pay every month. I pay my warranty, pay that insurance. I tell you.
But here's the thing: what is a Thanksgiving Day parade? What actually is this that we're actually talking about? What is it?
Okay, what is it? Okay, so even though this is not in my notes, but I'm just going to go ahead and just give a big, overview of what the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade is. It is traditionally a parade that has been put on by the store Macy's, the department store Macy's, right? In New York City, in Manhattan, as they say.
On the island.
Yes, on the island. Yes, it has been going on. I'm not really sure. I'm pretty sure that people who are watching us look up how long the parade has been going on. And if anybody went on the panel want to go ahead and quickly Google that, do your thing.
Any New Yorkers out there screaming that you know the answer, it doesn't help.
Right.
It's a pre-record.
Right. But you can put it in the comments section below if you want. We would totally read that. But yeah, so it's been a staple, I would definitely say, on Thanksgiving. And it usually has references to pageantry between Thanksgiving and ramps up the Christmas shopping holiday. Okay, so it's a lot of times, you have like your marching bands, you have your children's choir singing, you have the rock.
I know what this is. This is the crowbar that the corporate people use to open your wallet.
Pretty much.
Yes,
that's pretty much it.
See, totally unlike when I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. What were you saying?
Totally unlike what I'm used to as a parade. I'm used to New Orleans, where it's, nothing you could air on TV ever. So I never even seriously entertained the idea of anything like that. But I'm sorry, Cynthia.
You are totally fine, because
the parades that I'm used to, the big parades I'm used to, back home in England, my home city, Brighton and Hove. If anyone knows anything about it, it's called the gay capital of Europe. It has an enormous pride parade in August. And we're talking, hundreds of thousands of people here. They shut down the damn city. That's the kind of thing. It's got floats. It's got, fabulousness. It's got, protesting at the front, protesting at the back. And, if you live there and you don't like it, tough. Why are you living in Brighton?
Well, it's like that without the protesting. And
protesting
shout
now.
out,
You're protesting now. I mean, protesting by bigots with a keyboard.
It's protesting. It's fake outrage. Let's just
I don't like the term fake outrage.
Because
synthetic outrage.
Well, okay, synthetic. I'm gonna call it fake. Fake is as much as my hair is. But the only reason why I'm saying that. Shout out to the beauty supply, but and shout out also to our lovely crew person who just let us know that the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade began in 1924. But the whole issue with all of this is that 1 million moms, which is usually 2 Karens, gets on
2
some
Karens
type of
and a dog
and a dog.
And it's not a dog for some reason.
The dog is always up there.
I always feel sorry for the dog, though.
You should feel sorry for the dog. Well, the dog is in a very joyless environment. If you think that's your mom,
fearful environment. They're afraid of everything.
Exactly. Well, that's
chase that ball, and you run into a baby. Oh!
No. The dog is not the only adult in the room.
Well, to steer the dog and the conversation back to what we're discussing, this 1 million not so moms Not So 1 Million Moms does this all the time. They find something to bitch about in the culture wars. It's always something that is so minuscule or
And
just
you raise a valid point there. You raise a
yeah.
valid point there. And moving to something much more serious, the New York Post article cites the Daily Mail.
Mm-hmm.
The Daily Mail is a notorious anti-trans rag.
Yeah,
It amplifies and exaggerates
it's a
culture
conservative.
wars.
Yeah, it's a
Right.
conservative.
It's not
post-
conservative. It's a tabloid.
Mhm,
This is
mhm.
what people don't realize.
That's what the
The
Post
Daily
is.
Mail is not left. It's not right. It's not center. It has
Mhm.
no political position. It is populist tabloid trash
Well,
from
the
start to finish.
well,
And
National
Phoebe
Enquirer.
actually. Well, it's. I mean, National Enquirer is mostly like that, but the
here's
Post
the
is not
difference
that
between
far
National
off.
Enquirer
It's
and the
not.
Daily Mail.
Yeah, it's
National
not that far
Enquirer
off.
doesn't make any claims that it's a true representation of society or reality. It doesn't make any claims whatsoever.
Well,
Whereas the
it
Daily
did in
Mail-
2016.
In
Just saying.
2016, it certainly did.
And then
In
my
2016
favorite
it did.
and then my favorite editor, I get to say his name, David Pecker, was found wanting when he didn't actually publish an article about a porn star that had an affair with the 45th president of the United States.
Right.
But anyway, leaving the 45th president of the United States out of this conversation, Daily
Please.
Mail is notorious for publishing anti-trans screeds and amplifying the most minuscule of nonsense. A good friend of mine who plays football once appeared on the back page of the Daily Mail because she had the temerity to be a trans woman playing football, so they ran a 3-day spread on her playing football. She wasn't even playing at any grade level. She was playing in the second lowest tier of English women's football. But there was a very interesting article that did come about in relation to the Daily Mail. The Daily Mail publishes an inordinately large number of dog whistle anti-trans rhetoric and dog whistle amplification anti-trans articles over nothing burgers. And in January 2023, so in a 31-day period, they published 115 articles on trans people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And 87%, so that's 100 articles, were described as anti-trans by the Daily Mail. That's what's being amplified here. These things are things that are amplified by the lunatics.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the point that I was just getting to. They take something like this and they amplify it in order for them to just continue to push their narrative. That is all the 1 Million Moms and other conservative groups. I just call them conservative because that's how they basically deem themselves in the United States. Same as the Moms for Liberty and basically any person that, comes on the Daily Wire or Newsmax. Matter of fact, I think that in this particular article, there was a YouTube video of one of the moms that was talking about basically how now that Macy's Day Thanksgiving parade has become an area of where they are entering themselves in the cultural wars so that they can indoctrinate children. This is the narrative that they are pushing out. And one of the things that I get really annoyed about, and I think this comes from me being an artist, is that I understand that you are in New York doing this parade. New York is a hotbed of artists, singers, dancers, visual artists, media, all this stuff. I mean, and traditionally, this is where artists have gone in order for them to be discovered and even to be to go under apprenticeships and be tutored in their arts and so on and so forth. Some of the great American thinkers, I would say, actually came out of New York. So I get personally triggered when I hear the Moms for 1 Millionness, not quite, say some crazy things about a whole pageantry that's really about art and crowing open your wallets for Christmas. I mean, like, we're gonna keep it a buck, you know. But but one of the things that I thought about, especially since they were talking about David Sullivan, and also I want to say I mentioned their name at the beginning. David Sullivan, I'm sorry, yeah, Justin David Sullivan, and also Alex Newell. Both of them in music on Broadway, and also Alex Newell, who is in Shooked specifically. We've always had artists that were criticized when they were doing something that was outside of the norm per se. I had in here that there was criticisms of Mozart. There were different composers that said that Mozart had too many notes in his compositions when he were, yes, Phoebe, I see your face. But that was the criticism of Mozart. Another thing was said even, and then I even kind of jumped forward to one of my contemporaries, Lil' Kim, who was criticized for being way too provocative in her lyrics and also her dress, and being influential to other young girls who are looking up to her as a role model. But she had one of the sickest styles in the game in the 90s. She was an icon in her own right, from the late 1990s up into the 2000s. I mean, girl was on point. I said all to say is that these people have a right to be able to express themselves in the way that they see fit when it comes to their identity. And the thing that I see specifically with these people is just their hatred, their bigotry, their fear of a landscape that's changing to not look like the white middle class nuclear family. So with that being said, what are you guys' thoughts on what specifically they are outraging against? Do you think that it's mostly just them using their platform because they're scared, or they are wanting to using it for control, or both? What say you, Jonathan?
I say they're really doing it to try and basically put us all back in the closet. Being out and proud is not open to negotiation. Mm-hmm. Being fairly and honestly represented on a public stage is also not open to discussion. Sorry, the moms for a million moms for tyranny. This is a publicity stunt, and it's just as poorly done as their hair and nails. They just don't get it. Society changes, and you have to either change with it or become extinct. So I'm just kind of, I'm really kind of annoyed, but they have to face it. Their days are numbered. These are the dying gasps of people clutching their pearls and, screaming into the wind that the good old days are fading out and modern day reality is creeping into my life. I've got to let it go. So, and I don't want to.
And
so they desperately want to avoid it.
And to your point, remember, those pearls are not fake. They're synthetic. Would you say so, Phoebe?
Manufactured.
Anyway, Infidel, do you have any words on this?
I'm definitely not going to say something that you said, Jonathan. I'm not going to say anything about anyone's nails or hair. So just starting there, I'm gonna move past that one. But I do think it's fear. I absolutely think this is coming from a place of fear of people seeing the world changing. Now, we look at it and say, hey, the world may be changing for the better, but they look at it and say, hey, the world's not the one that I'm comfortable with. It's not the one I'm familiar with. It's not the one that I was raised to think that is the right way to be. And these people are deviating from what I think is right, and they can't do that. And of course, that's the problem that they need to learn, that they can believe whatever they want about their lives. They can do whatever they want, but their ability to tell me or you or anyone in our audience is zero. And that's the message that needs to be hammered home. And right now, I'm pretty hopeful. Things are starting to look kind of disastrous for some of these groups. So I'm looking forward to the future and seeing some of these groups become irrelevant like they should be, because they are a joke. And speaking of jokes, very much not a joke, Phoebe.
It's the dying convulsions and vestiges of a past which is dying and is currently on life support, being propped up by a defibrillator that occasionally convulses them back into life once every so often. It's not worth giving these groups the time of day anymore. Their day has come, their day has gone, and soon we will be presiding at the funeral of all of these groups because they will be extinct like the dinosaurs.
Indeed. Well, I'll just say this in conclusion. Whether you see the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade as a non binary and transgender extravaganza or a celebration of diversity, it's clear that discussions around inclusion and representation are far from over. We also know far too well that their not so 1 million moms are not about inclusion whatsoever. If it ain't white and straight, it's a problem. And this is their MO, and it's tiresome. But we would like to know what you, dear viewer and listener, are wondering when it comes to this topic. What are your thoughts? Please make sure you put them in the comments below. And if you want more from the nonprofits, click here.